Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This Week in America. Half a Ton of Majestic Energy by Nathan Bernstein is a fictional account of the everyday activity and breathtaking trauma that occurs at all the many thoroughbred racetracks around the country. Suspense, that's one word that describes a day at the racetrack. From riders up to the buglers called to the post parade featuring half-ton animals and their colorfully-garbed, courageous jockeys. They're off, then the homestretch finale, followed by the ear-deafening suspense as the finish line is approached, then the tote board results for the anxious betting public. Nathan Bernstein and his wife Rita are resident natives of Chicago. Nathan holds a BSc in marketing from Roosevelt University, his BA in studio art and MA in history, awarded by Northeastern Illinois University. A sports enthusiast, Nathan was art director for 5 years for a major sports publisher. He also played utility infield in junior college, attended 8 Randy Hundley baseball fantasy camps, and for the last 20 years, Nathan has been an owner and breeder of thoroughbred racehorses. Venues are Hawthorne and Arlington racetracks and the former Sportsman's Park. Nathan Bernstein, author of Half a Ton of Majestic Energy, our guest on This Week in America. Nathan, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
Yeah, glad to be here, yeah.
What a background you've had, and I'm really looking forward to talking about this. But let's talk about the inspiration, the motivation. What inspired you to write the book, Half a Ton, Majestic Energy?
Well, I'm a racing fan, although I'm not a bettor. When I do bet at the track, I'm conservative. But I'm enamored by thoroughbred the horse racing, the horses. I love horses. And I wrote this book actually when I was I wrote it handwritten when I was visiting my wife in the hospital in Chicago. She had open heart surgery, and nothing to do but while she was sleeping, there was nothing to do but watch television or twiddle my thumbs. So I got a hold of a pad of paper, and with my trusty pen, I wrote about 90% of Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. And I completed this novel. It's a fiction story. I completed it later on and polished up on the earlier part. But it was not type. I didn't use a typewriter. I hand wrote this novel. It was all based upon my experiences in the horse racing business.
The book is Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. Nathan Bernstein is the author and our guest. You'll find the book at Amazon, all of the usual places. Interesting the way this came about as you were sitting there with your wife. How was your wife doing?
She's doing fine. She had a heart attack, but that was a couple of years ago, and she watches her diet now. She's right now she's 79 years old. We're young, and I'm 90 years young. So that's one of the reasons why I did not renew my horse racing license. Another reason is because the great Arlington Park racetrack closed permanently in 2022, and I've raced my horses at Hawthorne, at Arlington, and the former Sportsman's Park, which that building was and track was raised about 10, 15 years ago.
You know, Arlington was like a classic racetrack in that area.
Oh, that was the best.
Yeah, Nathan Bernstein, our guest on the program. The book is Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. You'll find it wherever books are sold. If you're Googling, Bernstein is Bernstein. You link on by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. How did you get your start in horse racing? This is a topic you hear many people say, boy, I would love to do that, but it seems so expensive to get involved in this and so many unknowns you're dealing with. How did you get involved?
Well, I only attended the track maybe once or twice a year, but I read a book about handicapping, and like I said, I'm not a gambler. I calculate conservatively and so on and so forth, and I had some good results. And at the track, I met some interesting people, and one man suggested that if I would like to own a racehorse, I should attend a Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association seminar, which I did. And at Arlington Park, Wednesday was not a track day, but they had a seminar there, and and I figured that like the $200 or so fee was an investment, so I attended that seminar, and owners and trainers, etc., spoke, including an executive of the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association, which is based in Kentucky. And then we went to the barns, or to one barn to visit the horses with a trainer. And then eventually, I could not claim a horse because I was not an owner. So my first horse, yes, I actually bought at a farm in Illinois, in Barrington, Illinois. And I had her for quite a while, and I bred her because she got injured. And eventually, I claimed a horse that she turned out to be a good broodmare. She was the mother of I'm a Little Kitten, who was third in the stakes race at one time, and the mother Innocent Kitten was bred in Kentucky, and her sire was Kitten's Joy, who was the North American turf champ. And I had good results with her, and then she had a full sister that was born, and what happened was she was injured in a farm accident. Like 3 days before, she used to be sent to a specialized farm to be broken to ride and trained. So she never made it, and I had her cremated, the poor thing.
Ooh.
And I've had an interest in those 20 years in 18 different thoroughbred race horses. Most of them I own, 100% own, and some of them I was partners with either my trainer or with the farm manager.
You mentioned 20 years in owning and breeding thoroughbreds, and all of that knowledge, and the track comes to life, and the personal stories that Nathan does such a fine job in telling in the book, Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. You'll get the glimpses at more than a glimpse. You'll get to behind the scenes with the racetrack, the people who populate that are there at the racetrack, the book at Amazon, all the visual places. In that 20-year period, Nathan, how many thoroughbreds have you owned? Do you even know over that period?
Yeah, like I just mentioned, there's 18 of them.
Okay.
And the last one that I owned, what was that? That was a couple of years ago. Actually, I claimed her. She beat the boys in the race. And,
Good.
And then she didn't do too well after that.
Well, they beat the boys once, so that was that was good.
I claimed her, and that was a Majestic Warrior was her name, and her sire was sent to Japan for stud service after that.
What was it like in this process, your experiences in breeding and raising the foals that are weaned, then breaking to ride and to race, that whole process?
It's an 11-month gestation period. And you have to select a stallion for your broodmare, and some of them go up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, for the ones that have a great record, or it could be $1,000 or less. I usually pay maybe about $2,000, and I get like a discount because I also own the Illinois Thoroughbred Breeders Association Foundation in Illinois, and it takes that 11 months, and then when they were foaled, when they were born, until they were weaned, they'd be with their mothers maybe a year and a half. Then they were separated, and eventually, some of them were raised as 2-year-olds. Although my trainer did not like to race 2-year-olds because they get nervous in the starting gate.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and then I was fortunate. Some of my the horses that I bred ran what they call maidens and special weight races. That picture on the cover of my a fiction story here. Is in 2016. I'm a little kid and winning a maiden special race at Arlington. And she never raced in a claiming race in her life. Allowances, and it's racing 3 stakes races. And the picture on the cover of the jockey is Jose Valdivia Jr., who also has mounts in some of the Triple Crown races.
Yeah, a familiar name, and that's on
I was fortunate to have some real good jockeys aboard my horses.
It's such a fascinating story. That picture that Nathan's talking about is on the cover of his book, Half a Ton of Majestic Energy, which is a fiction. When a fiction writer sits down to write, they use, if they can, a lot of their experiences, especially someone like you writing about something you're very familiar with. How many of your experiences were you able to incorporate into Half a Ton of Majestic Energy?
Just my experiences. There's other authors that use their life experiences to write fiction. One example would be Ernest Hemingway. He authored Farewell to Arms, which is a fiction story, but it was based upon his experiences as an ambulance driver in World War I. And then, like Mark Twain is a good example. He wrote Tom Sawyer about his experiences on the Mississippi River in Hannibal, Missouri. So authors, to my knowledge, use their life experiences to write fiction.
Are those some of the writers that influenced you writing this book, Half a Ton of Majestic Energy? You mentioned a couple of very good ones there. Was that sort of inspiration for you and influence in writing?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I've read a few novels.
How do you come up with the title? I love Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. When you think about it...
Yeah, that's very interesting. If anybody's familiar with Einstein's theory of relativity, that's how I got that title. E energy equals mc squared. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, energy and mass, that is weight or matter, it's one and the same thing. E is energy, and the equation mc squared 2 was the mass, matter, or whatever, times the speed of light squared. So according to Einstein, energy and mass are one and the same thing. So that's the title. A ton is 2,000 pounds, so a half a ton would be 1,000 pounds. Some thoroughbreds, especially stallions, weigh 1,200, but the average weight of a thoroughbred is 1,000 pounds. And just like the humans, some are larger and some are smaller.
It's just yeah, when you think about what a jockey has to handle, and at the speeds they go and the majestic energy that they're controlling, it's just amazing what goes into riding one of these horses, isn't it?
Yeah. The jockey has to have strong hands, like Eddie Arcaro, who rode Whirlaway in 1941 to the Triple Crown. He said that he had very strong hands. Another jockey may not have been able to handle Whirlaway because he wanted to veer to the right, but maybe head back to the barn in the middle of a race. But Eddie Arcaro kept Whirlaway under control, and he won the Triple Crown.
With us on the program is Nathan Bernstein. The book is Half a Ton of Majestic Energy, book available Amazon, wherever books are sold. Talk about the book. It's a mystery, it's a love story, it's a crime story, a horse racing story.
Everything all rolled into one. But everything leads up to the final 2 chapters. The plot adds up to the suspense of the final 2 chapters, and I'm not going to tell you how it ends because that's like going into a movie in the middle of a picture and telling you how it ends. Yeah,
we don't want to know how it ends until we read that, and then it builds up there. And if some people are saying, I don't know anything about horse racing, they really don't, do they? This is a novel. It just happens to be the subject of this, a fascinating horse
let me
racing.
tell you, there's 147,000 people at the last Kentucky Derby. And many of them were not horse experts, but they were enamored by the thrill of the horse race. If you've watched on the TV any of those Triple Crown races, or even the Breeders' Cup this last week or so, those crowds go wild in the homestretch.
Nathan, how does a horse racing novel differ from novels about other subjects? You've got a great story here. The background is horse racing. How does this differ from other novels, do you think?
Well, there's a lot of suspense in horse racing. It's full of suspense. The one word that distinguishes it from other forms of fiction, there's nothing like the cavalry charge in the homestretch.
What is that like from an owner's standpoint? You know, as a better, you know, we're all familiar with that's like, and you're seeing the positions as they're coming down for the home stretch. From your standpoint, what are you looking for? I'm sure you're looking for the positioning of the horse and make sure the horse is okay as well, the health of the horse. What's that like from an owner's standpoint when you're watching the race develop?
Well, there's after the horses are off and all that, there's the positioning of the horses. You know, the jockeys. It might be a 6 furlong race or a mile and a quarter. There's a lot of positioning until you get to the home stretch, and then the jockeys start tapping their horses and so on and so forth, and the crowd just goes wild.
Yes. That has to be exciting to be as close to it as you were for so many years. The book is Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. Nathan Bernstein is our guest and the author, Bernstein. Talk about the experiences overall. When you got involved, how much fun was it? And it was a business, I'm sure, as well, but how much fun was it? Enjoyment did you get going to the track and watching these horses develop and the horses race?
It's just like watching a baseball game or something. It's interesting. If you like baseball or football or whatever, it's something I'm interested in, horse racing.
What's amazing was when you watch some of the behind the scenes. You guys start pretty early on this. Are you there? The people there at the track, aren't they working the horses even before the sun comes out? They have to work out. You know, if a horse is in the stall too long, they may end up with a disease. One disease is called colic, where there's an inflammation of the intestines, and then the horse's diet cannot pass through the intestines, and colic, C-O-L-I-C. So they can't be in the stall all the time. They have to work out, and every morning there's a timer. It could be a 3 furlong time or a 6 furlong, whatever, and maybe 15, 16 horses are timed that day. It could be mares, colts, yes,
or whatever, and that's it. They have to work out every morning. And people are still sleeping. These horses are doing their work.
They're out working, and you bring that world to life with great personal stories. It's a mystery, a love story, crime story, horse racing story. It's all combined with a great ending. The book is Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. Nathan Bernstein, that's Bernstein. What's this like, having the book out there, getting good reviews, people enjoying it? What's it been like being an author? I mentioned all of your background before in sports and in writing and in pictures. What's it been like being an author?
Well, I always liked writing, and I published one book back in 1989, and I illustrated it, but that had nothing to do at all with horse racing. That subject was art.
Which is another background of yours. I mean, it's fascinating, the background that you've had, and the book is so. Are you working on another book? Are you going to get the legal pad and the pen out and work on another book here?
I'm all through. I'm 90 years young now, so that's the end of my writing career.
Well, I think that's what kept you young, is all this you've been able to do through all of your life, and a big part of that is the story that you tell in Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. Nathan Bernstein, that's Bernstein. Book available, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of the usual places.
E before the I.
Oh, I'm sorry. E before the I. Yes. Bernstein. There. Thank you. I get my eye check here, eyes checked here before the day's over. Nathan, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you for joining us. Excellent job with the book. Loved having you on, talking about your experiences and in writing the book, Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Okay, glad to be here.
Nathan, thank you. Nathan Bernstein. The book is Half a Ton of Majestic Energy. You'll find the book Amazon, wherever books are sold, and, of course, information on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And we're back on today's program right after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.